So what if, for all those people that are drinking less or not drinking at all, what if there was a place to go to that just had like a major focus on that? They aren't missing out on anything, and nobody leaves my shop like, oh, okay, that was great, but I wish there was alcohol in there. Because I just blew their minds, and I gave them an experience and the ambiance and the whole hospitality setting. They're excited when they leave.
Our Bay Area Innovator today is Joshua James, founder of the Ocean Beach Café. Once a bartender battling addiction, Joshua turned his life around and opened one of San Francisco's first alcohol-free bars. Now a hub for wellness, community, and positive action. From cleaning beaches to hosting events with the Golden State Warriors, he's redefining what it means to go out and connect. In this episode, Joshua shares how sobriety sparked a movement and why more people are rethinking what's in their glass and what really matters. This is Bay Area Innovators, and I'm your host, Steve Ispas. Joshua, welcome to our program.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Well, there's a fast-growing trend of non-alcoholic beverages in the United States, pretty much all over the world. And you're right in the midst of it. You own it's the first non-alcoholic cafe in San Francisco. Please tell us what drives the motivation for people to look at non-alcoholic drinks right now.
What drives people to non-alcoholic drinks is wellness. I think the pendulum swings towards wellness as we go over the decades. And I started seeing people drinking less when I was a bartender at a fancy restaurant in New York City in 2017 and 18. Lower alcohol beverages, lower alcohol beers, they were being ordered more, and people were into it, and they were like, actually, I kind of like that. And then COVID hit, and they drank a lot, and then my Ocean Beach Café, the non-alcoholic bar of San Francisco, opened in dry January of 2021. And that January, the New Year's resolution was, like, I want to drink less. And we just went through 2020 COVID, and we drank a lot. And that was when a lot of brands came out that year, because I think the entrepreneurs had the time to make the business plan during 2020. And so we've seen 500 or 600 brands come out.
So it's mostly the wellness part, the not getting the hangovers, the having to get a friend to drive you home, things like that. What motivated you to start this?
So for me, I just love to geek out on liquor, beer, and wine. I brewed a lot of beer, and
you were a bartender before, right?
Yeah, I was a bartender and managed a lot of bars. But right out of high school, I started bussing tables, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, I love this, the lifestyle, the cash every day. And then I became a server, and I was like, this is even better. And I just knew I wanted to be a bartender. You know, like some people want to become chefs and do food, and some want to be bartenders and make drinks and learn about them and tell the stories about them. And I just really enjoyed that and did it for over 20 years.
But was there a defining moment where you said, okay, I'm going to switch to non-alcoholic drinks?
Well, yeah, I mean, at first the hangovers got so bad. I remember 33, 34 years of age. I'm 43 now. But it's still, even though the hangovers got so bad, I still continued to drink for several more years. And I would take 2 weeks off and 3 weeks off. And I did that a bunch of times. And I would go back to 3-day benders and just drinking too much. So it was really fun for a long time, and until it wasn't. And that was 2019. I got a DUI. I lost another job. I got kicked out of my house, and I was like, this has got to stop. So December of 2019, I was like, I'm taking a whole year off of drinking. Let's see what happens. And that was the best idea. The long-term commitment was important. And I immediately looked into what's going on in the non-alcoholic beverage world. There were just a few brands back then, and I wanted to geek out on everything that was non-alcoholic and share it with others. And that's exactly what I get to do now. It's like my favorite thing.
That's amazing. So you change your lifestyle. I mean, in the sense like you kept your bartending and cafe, but you just took the alcohol out of it, which is pretty amazing actually. So you moved to San Francisco and then you started this cafe. Was it easy to get this going, to start a cafe that probably people don't know about, right? They say, why are you doing non-alcoholic drinks?
Yeah, I was in North Carolina, and then what brought me to San Francisco was a Native American-based rehab center called the Friendship House. It's an amazing facility. Actually, two of my brothers had been there, and I was there for 6 months, and that was where I built the business plan for Ocean Beach Cafe, and I just totally committed to reviewing non-alcoholic beverages on my YouTube channel and getting all in that industry. And then I had an opportunity for this place down by the beach, and I committed to it.
We'll definitely talk about some of the drinks you offer. But first, do you think you were in the right place at the right time, or you created the opportunity for this to happen, for the non-alcoholic drinks?
I guess I like to be early on trends. I'm always kind of like trying to spot those. And I saw this coming. I was really confident that it was coming no matter what. When I opened in January of 2021, I was like, it's probably going to take about a year. And that's pretty much what it was. A year later, the next January 2022, you could just, I talked to tens of thousands of people every year at my cafe, and you could just, the public awareness started to happen about a year later.
Now it's a social thing, right? You go out with your friends and then you get a drink, right? Now, how much do you think that people, they go out there, they want to have a good time, they want to get a buzz, right? That's what most people think of, because then it's easier to carry a conversation or whatever, right? How does that translate with the non-alcoholic drinks? Is it easier or harder to make the social connection?
Yeah, I like that you bring up the social connection, because that's also a very cultural thing, different countries, different cultures. And the one in America is that alcohol was the default, because if you ever say, let's go out and get some drinks, that means let's go out and get together and have these great times like we do. And alcohol is just the default. And that's actually what I see has really shifted, is that alcohol isn't the main character as much anymore. In fact, it's kind of having a moment, and it's getting a different reputation. I think in a way similar to what cigarettes did.
Yeah.
There was a time it was cool, and the doctors had said it was okay, and then it was just like, actually, you know what? We know that it makes us smell a certain way, and
Yes.
like intuitively, this can't be great for us. And with alcohol, it was just, that was what you did, and that was a big part of it. And now it's like, actually, you know what? We kind of intuitively know it isn't good for us, and so it's kind of having one of those moments. But we still want to be social as social creatures that want to get together. It's a very important part of our health, even, and how we get together and connect is so important. And what we see is, what I get to see all the time in person, is people have a really good drink in their hand, like that's it. That's such a big part of it.
Yeah.
And so is the ritual and the activity of going out. But if it was a glass of water, that doesn't work. It doesn't equate. It's a thing.
Yeah.
But if it's a good drink, and especially if it's a good drink for adults, it totally works. And you still have those same moments, and you cheers the glass. And I wish I could show the whole world at the same time, like maybe through film or video or something, what that looks like and what that feels like, because it's so powerful. They aren't missing out on anything, and nobody leaves my shop like, oh, okay, that was great, but I wish there was alcohol in there. Because I just blew their minds, and I gave them an experience, and the ambiance and the whole hospitality setting that they're excited when they leave.
But how much of that you think comes from your environment that you created in the cafe versus the drink itself, which is non-alcoholic?
It's a whole package. As a bartender, I just wanted to create a total vibe of a space, and that's what we have there. It's a cozy cafe. And then having that drink as well, and it's the glassware, and it's the garnish, and it's the shaking. It's a whole environment, and it's an activity that we already participate in. And this one looks a lot like a cafe, and And I'm okay with that. What if cafes became the social spaces like the diners used to be in the early 1900s?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned smoking, because if you look at the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson maybe 20, 30 years ago, or maybe more, he's smoking on the show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the guests come and maybe they smoke, right? And it's so unthinkable right now, right? But with these drinks, you don't even have to give up the glass, right? You still have the glass and the drink. You just give up the alcohol. It's pretty cool. This Bay Area Innovators episode is sponsored by Pire Cassara Clothiers, an Italian menswear store that brings timeless European style with a modern edge to Sunnyvale and the Bay Area for over 50 years. From top Italian suits and shoes to the exclusive Tommy Bahama line, they've got your look covered. Check out their website at pirecassaraclothiers.com to find out more. And now, back to our interview.
And you can have a buzz inside
cases.
of that glass, and that may not be for everybody, and that's very much so respected at my space. But I also have items that do actually give you a buzz, maybe in your body, or maybe one that's a little bit more heady as well.
We'll look at some of your drinks, but first I gotta ask you, probably a lot of people wonder about this. How is the alcohol being removed from the drink itself?
It's a great question. So beer and wine, there's three major ways. So you have to, usually you're making the beer and the wine first, so it has alcohol in it. And then you have to remove it. So in the case of wine, if you take a 12% alcohol.
So you start with the real wine and the real beer. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Because you need to make it taste like wine. So there's grape juice and then there's wine.
Yeah.
Those don't taste the same.
Right.
Because the wine has been fermented and the alcohol has been created. So then you can remove the alcohol by putting it into it's a large container. And if you suck all of the air out of the container, then the boil point for alcohol is very low. So instead of 175 degrees Fahrenheit, it may be 80 degrees. And it's kind of like it's boiling it off, but it's doing it in a vacuum environment, about 80 degrees, turns into steam, and it goes into another container. And then there's more stuff involved in that, but essentially that's how you would remove it.
So that steam becomes liquid, and that's the new product, the non-alcoholic?
The steam would be the alcohol, because it's gonna turn into steam, and then it's gonna go into that tank. So you actually have alcohol in a tank that you can do something with if you want to.
What's left over is the drink.
Yeah, then you need to get all the aromas go with it. So you need to figure out how to get all the aromas back into the de-alcoholized wine. Mm-hmm. And then there's a little bit more stuff that you have to do as well. What folks add back at that stage is what actually makes a lot of non-alcoholic wine not good. Mm-hmm. Most non-alcoholic wine is not great. But there are some brands out there that are amazing. And I've had a very specific focus on finding the best non-alcoholic wines this last 5 years as well.
Is it fair to say that there could be three different categories: non-alcoholic wine, beer, and mixed drinks, or is there more than that?
Great question. So there's a non-alcoholic beer, which is the most popular. It's about 80% of the market. And then non-alcoholic wine, it's a much smaller part of the market, but where it's about to go comparatively is huge. And then non-alcoholic spirits would be the other one. So if you had things that were like trying to copy the Scotch world, we would call this a non-alcoholic spirit. But another super important category, and
so
one
that's like whiskey.
That's a non-alcoholic Scotch whiskey, and it is
Wow.
from Scotland.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, most non-alcoholic whiskeys are not great. Like, really not great. In fact, they're frustrating, and they're kind of upsetting the bartenders because they're really not very good. But there are some, and this one called Glen Docus it's actually mind-blowing. It's like triggeringly close to Scotch. Mm-hmm. And since they're so hard to make them actually taste like their alcohol counterparts, I don't carry as many of those brands now, because if it's getting into my shop, it's got to be amazing. And then there's stuff that's like not trying to copy the alcohol world. And this is what we would call functional elixirs. You can call them functional spirits. So the word functional is going to be a word that you're going to be seeing a lot. So not trying to copy the alcohol world, and has mood enhancing and energizing functional spirit, she calls it. and this one's quite spicy, and it's purple, and it's going to have things like rhodiola in it, it's an adaptogen. So that's a big buzzword right now, and it means like things that would de-stress the body. And it also has nootropics, and those are things that are like for the brain. So something like 5-HTP, and then there's caffeine in here, and there's L-theanine, and there's things that are kind of a bit energizing. And it's not something that's gonna like get you high, but you just might feel something there when you're making a drink with that.
Where's the color coming from?
So the color for this one is coming from Purple Carrot.
Okay.
And she makes that in Los Angeles. It's called Bon Buzz. And I can make non-alcoholic margaritas, but I kind of like to make a non-alcoholic margarita that uses something like this, because then the drink then like has a function to it, and it also makes it magenta, which is a really nice color to serve to a customer.
Okay. Any wines?
Yeah, wines. It's the thing about wine is people get emotional over it.
Yes.
And I can share a really good non-alcoholic red wine like this is with somebody, and there's been 3 different sommeliers and business owners that have literally teared up when I shared this wine with them, because it's such a high quality, and they've just done such a great job at de-alcoholizing it. And wine just has that thing where they're just like, I didn't know I would get to experience this again because I don't drink. I'm a sober sommelier or a sober restaurant owner, and there's a lot of those now. And that's what wine does. This is a $99 bottle of wine. That's what it sells for in my shop. And so people will be like, what, $99 and it doesn't have alcohol in it? It's like, yes, there's so many people that love wine and grew up with wine, and they're like, I don't want to drink alcohol.
Right.
Maybe medication reasons or age or whatever.
Right.
There's 100 different reasons. And the fact that they can have that kind of experience again is so powerful. This one's called Geronimo, and it comes out of Austria, and they've just done all of the things, and it's a vintage 2005, so it's 20 years old. And
so then Europe is it catching up on this, or they have their own kind of movement on themselves?
they've been at it a little bit longer, and in Europe I always hear there is a non-alcoholic beer or wine or something in like shops you go to when you travel around Europe. It's kind of everywhere, so I've heard. The US was behind on that, but the US just went like boom, super fast. And it's, as it does, it's leading non-alcoholic beverages out there, but the UK, Australia, it's happening all over the world.
Cool. All right, let's see what else you got.
Yeah, this is something that just flies off the shelf. It's got mushrooms on the front label. You can see it's cloudy. There's sediment in there. Reishi mushrooms, good for focus, to de-stress the body as well. And then there's 15 other herbs and adaptogens and nootropics, and nervines is another word that you'll be hearing. And nervines are things that like interact with the nervous system and maybe organize some of the chaos or the stress there.
So these drinks are not as much just for drinking, but some have other functions, right? Like herbs do in some way, right? For the body to improve different things.
Herbalists are really busy right now. They're like, finally, like society's getting it, that like what we have to offer is valuable and does something good for them. This is made from an herbalist. She's a doctor. She's very local to San Francisco in the Bay Area. And you can just pour that right on the rocks, and that also makes it very convenient. And when things like this, they're like, so what do I do with this? Because it doesn't have any sugar in it, and it's kind of tart, and it's just, nobody's really a bartender, you know? But you can just mix it with tonic water or ginger beer. It works. And then this category is things that actually do give you a buzz. This one right now is probably the most popular. It's the most viral product. Kava is a root, and it kind of tastes like it, where it's like a really dirty taste. But it's drank ceremonially in Fiji and the islands in Polynesia.
Mm-hmm.
But it numbs your mouth when you drink that,
Wow.
and it kind of numbs your muscles, so it relaxes your body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there's kava bars like all over the country, and they're definitely popping up all over right now. Kava is like a very popular word right now, and this has a
Yes.
lot of ginger juice in it as well. So it's kind of like taking a ginger shot,
Mm-hmm.
but there's agave in there, so and there's lemon, so it's like it's intense, and it's got some dirt on the back end. But you can put these two things together with all the adaptogens and herbs in here, and then you can have this, and it's going to be very gingery, and you have like that is a real cocktail. Like that that isn't a mocktail. Like not mocktails, because mocktails would be like sugary drinks. Kids get them.
Yeah.
Nobody wants a lot of sugar. Well,
Yes.
not really. So Shirley Temples or pineapple and grenadine drinks, those will be mocktails, and they will continue to be that. But when you're working with stuff like this is a $16 drink at a restaurant,
Yeah.
and definitely geared to adults.
Okay.
And then things that are bitter and herbal are always really popular. This is another one of the most probably one of the most successful non-alcoholic brands. I mean, look at this bottle.
Mm-hmm.
It's herbal, it's bitter. People like Negronis, they can see what it is. This is a similar category as well. If you think of something like a Campari. Campari is really bitter, right?
Yes.
It's red. This is like that, but not as much sugar, and just super well made. Wilderton's out of Oregon, and they make some great
And the
stuff.
gels would go with ice.
You could do that with ice. It would be intense and bitter. I would mix it with like a sparkling wine. And this is like, that's going to be the drink of next summer. It's got to be the non-alcoholic spritz cocktail is what you call that.
Wow, interesting. So what is your goal with the cafe? You know, it's doing well. Are you what's your ultimate goal? You want to open 10 more cafes, or you
Oh
want
man, that would be amazing. If there could be more social spaces that had a focus on non-alcoholic. I mean, just that alone is just like, yes, that's the most relevant thing, I think, in society right now. Everybody, it's a household subject, you know? So what if for all those people that are drinking less or not drinking at all, what if there was a place to go to that just had like a major focus on that? There would be so many other people that were also into that. So you're in a room full of people that you have something really cool in common with. Yeah. And yeah, I would love to, but it's so hard. It's a food and beverage brick and mortar, you know, that's a certain kind of person to open up that kind of space. So yes, that would be a part of the $100 million plan. Like it is. It's a franchise model that's just amazing, and we can have 50 of them in the country, and people just know they can go to that space for that experience, you know. There's also a product in my future, you know. I would want to make something that was also
your own.
Yeah, I would do my own and have a scalable product, and it would just be perfect. It would have function, maybe a buzz to it, and that would be a part of it.
Let's talk about some challenges you are having. Do you have any kind of pushback from the wine industry or from the alcoholic industry in what you're doing?
Yeah, when there's a big disruption, like people drinking less, it's like an existential threat to the wine industry and other industries. Beer's going down as well. Breweries are closing. But that older generation of big wine and the figureheads, not all of them, but some of them are like, they're scared and they're mad, and they're saying rhetoric like neo-prohibitionists or the anti-alcohol movement, and they're using these big scary words to paint brands or folks or just the industry at large that it's this one thing. And it's I don't know anybody in this industry that's like, down with alcohol, it's done, and there's a better way, come and see, you know. It's not, they're just like, they all have just a really good, healthy perspective, because all this is about wellness, and there doesn't need, there shouldn't be anybody against wellness, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that this is not good for you or that alcohol is good for you. But you can do a parallel with the car industry, right? You have the gas-powered cars and you have electric cars or hybrids, right? And
Yeah.
this is kind of moving towards getting away from the alcohol, same as the EV cars. But the manufacturers, they picked up on that and they're having EV cars themselves. So do you see the wine industry starting to have more non-alcoholic drinks as well?
Yes, especially it's kind of generationally, you know, if the boomers, let's say they're over 60 something, 70 something years old, that's a different time and culture for wine. And it'd be hard for them to be like, what are you guys thinking? No alcohol in the wine? Like, it lost its soul, and I totally understand that. But I'm seeing winemakers that are in their 40s, maybe 50s, and they're like, "Oh no, yeah, we get what's going on, and we want to put a glass of our wine in their hand too." Isn't it just about putting glasses in hands? Isn't that what hospitality is?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a mixed bag, but big business people also know that when the whole ocean moves, when there's a sea level change, consumers' drinking preferences, you can't just be angry and be like, we're just going to put some sandbags up and hopefully that'll keep the ocean from coming in. And they have to go with it.
What's the biggest challenge you had personally with running the business?
Oh man, it's really, really, really hard work. And the first parts are everything's new, so you don't have any flow or it's learning so many new things. But I enjoyed all of that, and I wanted to push myself and keep a good mindset all the way through and get up every day even when it was hard. And I did that, and I'm glad I had that experience because now I know what I'm capable of. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I'd been drinking. And it was neat to get to do all of that as a non-drinker and push through it. Some of the other huge challenges were, I mean, you know, staffing and people management, but there was a couple times there that I didn't think I was going to be able to keep going. And I put the cafe up for sale more than once. I was like, I'll take the cash out. Like, I don't really want to live this way. Like, this is crazy. And I realized I also wasn't as good at the job as I thought I was going to be, and I'm okay with that and saying that. But and then I brought alcohol into my life about 2.5 years after I stopped drinking. So it was into the cafe times, and that is just a harder way to live, you know. It wasn't so bad the first year or so, maybe a couple hard weeks here and there, but the last like 6 to 8 months of that, it was back to drinking like I used to, and it's very different to wake up in the morning with alcohol in your system, or if you don't have it in your system. So if I have it in my life, or if I don't have it in my life, there are very clear differences. And like, I'll take the not drinking. And
So there was more motivation to keep it going.
yeah, I ended up getting through those hard times, and then I had my now general manager is amazing. You hope you find somebody that's really good at the things that you're not, and you know, can work really hard and be trusted in all those things. And I've got an amazing GM that's just so good at all of the things. And that's allowed me to travel for non-alc, which is the dream. And we made it through, and he basically, you know, almost doubled the revenue. And now we get to have that amazing spot continue to be there, and I get to let people know what's good. We definitely get the whole world in my cafe. It's all the countries, and it's a tourist destination, and and then we have all the locals around us too. And then we have the non-alc thing, so we've had over 80 articles written about us. We have people that come from great distances, and we've been there almost 5 years. So we're one of the first, and we're known as one of the most successful, the one that's still there, the one that's still going, and we get to see people from all over the world.
Now you do some events, right? Also, you have some collaboration with different organizations. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, we've done hundreds of events, and it's neat to get to work in corporate Silicon Valley, San Francisco. They need these options for their employees, so this is a wellness and productivity thing. Can only be a benefit to the corporation, right? So we do a lot. We're the non-alcoholic bar catering for Airbnb and for Salesforce, and we've got to do other corporate offices where we go in and we bring a bar that looks something like this, where all these neat bottles, and we make amazing drinks, and then yeah, we do weddings and we do events at the cafe, and hundreds and hundreds of events. It's exciting.
Now, is your cafe all non-alcoholic?
Yeah.
So you don't have any alcohol in the cafe?
Everything's non-alcoholic.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, but when you walk in, you see a wall, like the whole wall is full of these bottles.
Yeah.
And then we get to let many tens of thousands of people know that, by the way, it's all non-alcoholic. I mean, they're just coming in for a latte, you know, and that's how I got them.
Josh, thank you so much for your time. I think you're doing a great thing. At least it gives people the option. You know, there may be still who like the alcohol. It's something that's a social thing, but having the option of not having to go through the hangovers or not having to get the addiction, it's a fantastic thing. And again, it may go back to what smoking was like when it was so popular, but then people realized it is not so great after all. So. Yeah. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you for watching another episode of Bay Area Innovators. If you enjoyed this episode and you know someone who should be on our show, please send us an email at sfbay@epochtimes.com. We would love to hear from you. Thank you, and see you next week.